Welcome to another story. If you love stories that resonate with the heart, you've come to the right place. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on our journey. On the edge, Lena had spent the last few months trying to convince herself that she didn't belong here. It wasn't that she didn't need help, it was just that every time she looked around at the group, she felt like an outsider. She had always been the quiet one, the observer. And now, sitting in this circle, surrounded by people who were battling their demons out loud, she was silently drowning. Her depression wasn't like theirs. They had reasons: loss, trauma, addiction. She had none of that. She just felt empty, like a walking shell. She hadn't planned on speaking today. She never did. But when the new guy, Ryan, walked in, something shifted in her chest. She didn't know why. Maybe it was the way his eyes scanned a room, almost like he was looking for something he could never find. Maybe it was the way he didn't quite fit, with his disheveled hair, faded jeans, and an air of quiet rebellion that made him seem too wild for the sterile group therapy room. He didn't say much when it was his turn to speak, but when he did, his voice cracked, raw and vulnerable. "I'm Ryan. I've been trying to stay sober, but it's hard. I keep thinking I've got a grip on it, and then I drink again. I'm not sure if I even want to quit. I just want the pain to stop." The words hit Elena harder than she expected. She had never thought much about addiction, never understood how someone could be trapped by something so tangible. But looking at him now, with his haunted eyes and shaky hands, she understood in a way she hadn't before. She wasn't sure if it was empathy or something else, but in that moment she saw him, not as the person he pretended to be, but as someone who was broken, just like her. For weeks, Lena went through the motions. She attended therapy, participated in the group sessions, but it all felt like a blur. But each week, Ryan's presence in the group became harder to ignore. He didn't seem to care about the usual niceties. He didn't talk about his progress or offer up the standard recovery slogans that the others seemed to cling to. Instead, he was raw and real in a way Lena had never experienced. There were moments during the sessions when she felt like he was looking at her, his eyes searching, seeing through her carefully constructed walls. He never said anything to make her feel exposed, but she could feel the weight of his gaze, understanding, compassionate, maybe even a little broken, just like hers. One day after the session, Ryan was walking out with her. He hadn't said anything, just casually stepped into the hallway beside her, his hands stuffed in his pockets. The silence between them felt comfortable, like they didn't need words to fill the space. "You don't talk much, do you?" Ryan's voice was low, almost a whisper. Lena shrugged, the weight of the words she never said pressing on her chest. "I don't know what to say. I don't know how to explain it." "Yeah, I get that," he replied. "Sometimes I feel like I'm drowning in my own head, but I can't find the words to tell anyone. It's like I don't know how to let people in." Lena hesitated for a moment before speaking, her voice softer than she intended. "I feel that way, too. I'm always waiting for something to happen, but I don't know what it is." Ryan gave her a sidelong glance, his lips curling slightly in a tired, understanding smile. "Maybe we're both waiting for something we'll never find." They didn't say anything else after that, but the words lingered in the air. Something had shifted between them, a silent understanding that neither of them had expected. As the weeks passed, Lena found herself thinking about Ryan more and more. She knew it was wrong, that thinking about him in this way wasn't healthy, but every time she saw him, something inside her stirred. She had always been drawn to people who wore their pain on the outside, who didn't hide behind masks of perfection. And Ryan, with his troubled past and messy, untamed presence, was exactly that. But she was trying to rebuild her life. She had a job, a routine. She was supposed to be focusing on herself, not on someone who was just as broken as she was. Yet every time she walked into therapy and saw him sitting there, she felt a strange pull, a magnetic attraction that she couldn't explain. Ryan didn't try to talk to her outside of group. He never pushed, but he started to show up at the same coffee shop she frequented, sitting at a table near the window, sketching in a notebook. Lena wasn't sure if it was coincidence or something more, but she started to visit the cafe more often, hoping to catch a glimpse of him. One day, she sat at a table across from him, her coffee growing cold in her hands as she watched him scribble in his notebook, completely absorbed in his thoughts. He looked up and caught her gaze, his expression softening. "You're here a lot," he said, his voice quiet but warm. "Is this where you find peace?" Lena laughed nervously, feeling exposed. "I guess. I come here to think. To pretend like the world isn't falling apart." Ryan studied her for a moment, his gaze lingering. "Yeah, I get that. Sometimes the quiet is the only thing that makes sense." For a while, they just sat there, the noise of the cafe surrounding them. Neither of them spoke much, but the connection between them deepened. They didn't need to fill the silence with words. There was something comforting in simply being near someone who understood. Things between Lena and Ryan began to shift. They started to talk more about their past, their struggles, their dreams. Lena learned that Ryan had been an artist once, but addiction had stolen that from him. He had once been full of hope, full of ambition, but now he was just a man trying to hold on to whatever was left of himself. Lena shared pieces of her story too. How depression had crept into her life like a thief in the night, how it had stolen her joy and left her feeling hollow. She spoke about the years of feeling like a ghost in her own body, going through the motions of life without truly living. Their connection grew stronger with each conversation, but it wasn't without its challenges. Ryan struggled to stay sober, slipping back into old habits, and Lena found herself questioning whether she could ever truly heal. One night, after a particularly tough session, Lena found herself sitting on the steps outside, staring at the city lights. Ryan sat down beside her, his body tense, but his presence calm. "Do you ever feel like you're standing on the edge?" Lena asked quietly, her voice shaky. Ryan didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a cigarette. He lit it and took a long drag, exhaling slowly. "Every day," he said softly, "but I'm still here. We both are." Lena looked at him, her heart pounding in her chest. "I don't know if I can keep doing this." "You don't have to do it alone," he replied, his voice low but steady. "We are in this together." And for the first time, Lena believed it. The battle was never easy. Ryan had his moments of triumph when he stayed sober for weeks, when he attended every session with dedication and hope. But there were also moments when he fell back into his old ways, drowning himself in alcohol, trying to silence the pain that constantly gnawed at him. Lena, too, had her own battles. There were days when the darkness seemed to swallow her whole, when the weight of her depression was unbearable. But through it all, she clung to Ryan, and he clung to her. They were broken, but they were broken together. They leaned on each other in ways they hadn't learned how to with anyone else. They didn't try to fix each other. They just held on day by day, step by step. It wasn't easy. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. One evening, as they sat on the rooftop of Lena's apartment building, watching the stars flicker above them, Ryan turned to her. "Do you ever think we'll get better?" he asked, his voice low, almost uncertain. Lena looked at him, the city lights reflecting in her eyes, and for the first time, she didn't feel the familiar weight of doubt. She didn't know if they would ever be completely whole, but she knew one thing: they weren't alone anymore. "I don't know," she said softly, "but I know we're not alone in this fight." Ryan smiled, a real smile this time, and for a moment, everything felt possible. They were both still standing on the edge, but now at least they had each other to hold on to. the end. Thank you for watching to the end. If this story touched you, support the video with a like and subscribe to the channel. There are many more exciting stories to come that will stay with us for a long time. See you soon.